Under a gold standard, the amount of credit that an economy can support is determined by the economy's tangible assets, since every credit instrument is ultimately a claim on some tangible asset. But government bonds are not backed by tangible wealth, only by the government's promise to pay out of future tax revenues, and cannot easily be absorbed by financial markets. A large volume of new government bonds can be sold to the public only at progressively higher interest rates. Thus, government deficit spending under a gold standard is severely limited. The abandonment of the gold standard made it possible for the welfare status to use the banking system as a means to unlimited credit. They have created paper reserves in the form of government bonds, which through a complex series of steps, the banks accept in place of tangible assets and treat as if they were an actual deposit. This is just on a ledger in the Federal Reserve, as the equivalent of what was formerly gold. The holder of a government bond or of a bank deposit created by paper reserves believes that he has a valid claim on a real asset. The law of supply and demand is not to be conned. As the supply of money, of claims increases relative to the supply of tangible assets in the economy, prices must eventually rise. Thus, the earnings saved by the productive members of society lose value in terms of goods. So if you're saving money, you're losing money in this system. When the economy's books are finely balanced, one finds that this loss in value represents the goods purchased by the government for welfare or other purposes. Really, it's all defense spending, with the money proceeds and interest of the government bonds financed by bank credit expansion. In the absence of the gold standard, there is no way to protect savings from confiscation through inflation. There's no safe store of value. If there were, the government would have to make it illegal, as it was done in the case of gold back in the 30s. If everyone decided, for example, to convert all his bank deposits to silver or copper, right, they'd lose their purchasing power. So the financial policy of the welfare state requires that there be no way for the owners of wealth to protect themselves. This is the shabby secret of the welfare state's tirades against gold. Deficit spending is simply a scheme for the confiscation of wealth. Gold standards stand in the way of the insidious process. It stands as a protector of property rights. If one grasps this, one has no difficulty in understanding the status antagonism towards the gold standard. That was Alan Greenspan. Okay? That's a true statement. Alan Greenspan, a man who is furnished with arguments from the mint, will convince his antagonists much sooner than one who draws them from reason and philosophy. Gold is a wonderful clearer of understanding. It dissipates every doubt and scruple in an instant, accommodates itself to the meanest of capacities, silences the loud and clamorous, and brings over the most obstinate and inflexible. Philip of Macedon was a man of most invincible reason this way. He refuted by it all the wisdom of Athens, confounded their statesmen, struck their orators dumb, and at length argued them out of all their liberties. That was Addison again. When the freedom they wished for most was the freedom from responsibility, then Athens ceased to be free and never was free again. That's one of our greatest scholars on the Greco tradition. I'd like to end with a poem by Robert Frost, because in the end, for me, the real two sources of truth in this world are revelation and poets. Robert Frost wrote two poems about economics, and one of them he never published. It's called On the Inflation of the Currency 1919, which was when Wilson inflated the currency, printed up a lot of money in order to pay for the war debts. And he said, the pain of seeing 10 cents turn to 5. We clutch with both hands fiercely at the part we think we feel it in, the head, the heart. Is someone cutting us in two alive? Is someone at us cutting us in half? We cast a dangerous look from where we lie up to the enthroned kings of earth and sky. They know what's best for them too well to laugh. That's about the bankers. They've convinced people that we need them. They're a necessity. They confiscate wealth. This misappropriation of wealth is beyond belief in human history. The amount of money that's been taken out of your homes, people in this room, the 401ks that were destroyed. And then he has another poem, and this is a warning to America. He says, these words were cut in stone for permanent. These words, I assume, were so deeply meant, they cut themselves in stone for permanent. Like trouble in the brow above the eyes, and here's what's chiseled in stone. Take care to sell your horse before he dies. The art of life is passing losses on. The city saying it was Ctesiphon, which may a little while by war and trade have kept from being caught with the decayed, infirm, worn out, and broken on its hands. But judging by what little of it stands, not even the ingenuities of debt could save it from its losses being met. Sand is thrusting in the square of door across the tessellation on the floor, and only rests a serpent on its chin, content with contemplating, taking in, till it can muster breath inside a hall to rear against the inscription on the wall. This country's money is being destroyed. Really, it's being destroyed before our eyes. And it's being destroyed because of debt. And debt is something that is incredibly overwhelming for people. Poor people have suffered the most in this crisis. And until we take the responsibility of understanding at a deeper level the economics of the system, how it works, we can't change anything. It was attempted. William Jennings Bryan attempted to do it 110 years ago, and there's a lot of people now talking about this. Now, whether we're able to do it or not, I don't know. But this system, which is a global system now, and usury, if you study how usury works, more interest on usury is going out of the third world countries than aid going in. This is it's a disgusting game, and it really should end. Whether we can end it or not is to be seen.